the mother of that trans kid from the National Geographic cover.
I saw her tweeting, but I don't even know who the fuck she is. Like,
She's
was
in
this
the
even an
obviously an
issue?
attention whore. Yeah, no, what happened is in 2016, National Geographic put out a horrific cover that said something like the gender revolution, and it was a picture of like a 9-year-old, 8-year-old boy in drag with like pink hair, and it was ghastly. It was like upsetting, stomach churning, especially in 2016. People aren't used to seeing this. Um, so they got talked about on the thread or on the forum, and it's like an 8-page thread, mostly about the actual issue, not the boy in particular. But they find his Facebook, his mom's Facebook, because his mom is aggressively pushing this kid out there to get on the fucking cover of National Geographic. So she's got a huge fingerprint, and then she comes out years later and says, "I was also doxxed. My 9-year-old was doxxed by Kiwi Farms. Like we didn't fucking dox him. You're the one that put him on National Geographic, bro." Uh,
You went on the press tour. Do you kind of, the feeling I get with a lot of this trans shit and the fad that it's become? It feels like it's become like the evolution or the second step of pageant moms. It really does. Like, instead of, like, taking my 4-year-old daughter and I don't know, putting 48 pounds of makeup on her and making her tap dance in front of a panel of judges, I'm gonna take my son and put a dress on him, and that'll get me more attention.
there is that, and it's frustrating because you want to put like a nice ribbon on it and say this is the core issue and this is the way to cut the Gordian knot. But the more fascinating and unfortunate aspect of the trans shit is that it's very multifaceted. There's a lot of different interests at play that are completely different but coincidentally align. And you see this with like the takedown of the forum is that you have people who don't communicate with each other but who find themselves on the same page because they benefit in their own ways from having the site taken down. And with the trans stuff, you have pageant moms, you have people, single moms who like have this fatherless boy and they want a girl or they want special attention. They want to be the mom at the PTA saying, "My daughter is trans and we need gender affirming blah 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 at our school." Like that's what they live for because they don't have a fucking hobby. You have those people. You have people who are genuinely just sick, disgusting perverts who want to walk around in a dress and jerk off in the women's restroom. And then you have people like Keffels who I think is just like a misogynist. Like they put out tweets and saying like being trans to me isn't about imitating women; it's about being better than women. So, and there's more to. And then the global interest. I think that to the corporation apparatus, to the government, the trans person is the ideal outcome of what the left would call the end stage capitalism. You have people who are predominantly white from middle and upper class homes who are cutting off their own dicks and becoming infertile, and then their life is a menagerie of consumer interest, wanting to see themselves represented in their consumer interest, buying pharmaceuticals to maintain their pain levels and to maintain their estrogen. They are, and then to replace them as they get older, you have to import labor from third world countries, and then that perpetuates the cycle of completely destroying the makeup, the demographics of the United States. I think that's the top down interest. But then you have all these useful idiots who have narcissistic personalities who are trying to enrich themselves either monetarily or sexually gratify themselves or get some other kind of attention from it. It's a rat king. It's one of the terms that we used to describe it years ago. It's a very bizarre phenomena.
So it's kind of it's this serendipitous conspiracy of different groups aligning because the interests happen to benefit them either financially or through retaining their power or feeding their narcissism, giving them the dopamine hit, and it just becomes a clusterfuck for everybody else that's left to deal with this shit in the wake of their actions.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I know kids at school. It's cool to be trans. It's cool to be queer. And since it's so broad now, you can fit in without actually having to commit to anything. Like they say that like 1 in 5 kids at school identifies as LGBTQIAP plus now, but that's like you ask a guy, it's like, what do you identify as, and he just wants to be with it, and he's just saying, "Oh, I'm queer." I'm non-conforming. And it's like he's just a straight dude who wants to bang chicks, who likes all the pretty girls in his classroom, but he also wants to appeal to them sensibly, and say I'm queer, I'm non-conforming. And it's like there's no commitment there, but the campaign of media and shit has made it so that that's the in vogue thing to do. It's like playing fucking Pokemon. That's what everybody's doing. They're changing their gender.
Yeah, but the crazy thing to me is, um, back in the day, if you were to identify as gay or lesbian, whatever, there wasn't a physical commitment to it. To this shit, there's a physical fucking process that takes place. If it's just taking pills or chopping shit off, like it's a commitment you can't unfuck. They talk about people detransitioning, but that's just going to leave you as, you're closing the hole up, but you're not replacing the dick, right? So you're physically butchered and fucked up and chemically fucked for the rest of your life. And it's kind of a scary thought to think of a bunch of kids going through elementary and junior high thinking this is what I want, and then they transition or whatever in fucking high school and college, and then 5 years later are like, oh, this was a big mistake, but there's no way to ever fix it.
Uh, yeah, that's some of them. Because also what happens is you have lonely people who go onto Discord and they're looking for friends. And it used to be back in the day, if you were lonely looking for friends, you fell into one of two categories. You joined the anime club or you joined the furry fandom. And both of those groups are generally accepting of basically everyone. Nowadays it's like you're online. What do you do? Oh, you join like the LGBTQIA plus. They're always looking for new people. They're chatty. They have events going on. They have funding. They have all sorts of stuff that you can get involved with. And then they end up in these discords, and they end up under the tutelage of older people who are attracted to children. And that's one of the other interests, is that you have genuine pedophiles who are just aroused by turning little boys into little girls, and basically people into making eunuchs out of children. And they get told, "Oh, you're not just queer. I think that you are actually. Did you ever play with a Barbie? Did you ever play with a Barbie? Do you like the color pink more than the color blue?" It's like that kind of shit. And then they say, "Well, I think that you were always meant to. I think you're a little girl trapped in a little boy's body, and I have all these resources. And if your parents don't consent, don't worry. I can send it to you in the mail. I know how to make it myself. How to
I
plastic
love
bags."
the contradiction too, because for like the last 3 or 4 years, right, the big push for gender equality and the anti-sexism talking points was boys can play with girls' toys and girls can play with boy toys, and that's not indicative of whether you're a boy or a girl. But now it's being used as a diagnosis, right? So,
Yeah.
oh no, if you do play with the Barbie, you're definitely a girl, and we need to cut your dick off. And if little Susie likes a transformer, it's time to put some silly putty in her crack and then stick on a snuffleupagus nose made out of her arm tissue and call her Timmy.
Well, that's another interesting thing. That Matt Walsh. Did you watch that Matt Walsh movie about what is a woman? He poses kind of as like a meme. He goes up to politicians and people in gender reforming care, and he asks them, "What is a woman?" And they have no straight answer, to the point where that's the comedy, is that you can ask any of these people, "What is a woman?" and you will not know. You will glean nothing by talking to them. All they say is a woman is a person who identifies as a woman. But then when you look at the people who identify as a woman, their concept, the men who identify as women, their concept of what a woman is like this bimbified, fetishistic idea of like, what is a woman? A woman is having long hair and fingernails and makeup and pumps and tits and an axe wound, and that's it. That's all it is to them. And if you try to suggest, is it reproductive? Are women supposed to be mothers? They say, well, what about women that can't have kids? Are they less of a woman? And so on. And it's like that end is messy, but it's always like the most bimbified concept possible.
Yeah, it's become ridiculous. It does seem very fetishistic. It does seem very fad-like to me. There obviously is a push. I wouldn't doubt pharmaceutical companies love it because they're going to make money gangbusters on this, not just from supplying estrogen or pills or whatever, but comforting, palliative medical care for the disaster that follows.
Yeah, for the rest of your life.
Um,
For the rest of your life,
yep.
you're going to be on some kind of pain management if you have the surgery.
And the government probably likes it because they're going to have a voter base that is, a self crippled minority that will always need to use them to make people stop laughing.
Well,
Well, here's the great debate. Now, is Destiny into fucking traps, right? which would just be boys playing pretend, and then they're guys afterwards? Or is he into axe wounds? I don't think he's into axe wounds. I think he just
Nobody
wants a
is.
trap.
Nobody is.
Right.
There,
I think he just wants a trap.
there was God, this is a callback. But remember the Amazing Atheist?
How could I forget him pouring oil on his dick? Yeah.
He did like a movie review about the human centipede, and he said, you know, there's probably people who would want to be at the head of the centipede, and there's probably people who want to be at the bottom of the centipede, but there's probably nobody who wants to be in the middle of the centipede. Like that touches nobody's kink. I think that's the way that the post-ops are. It's like you got people who want to fuck traps, and you got people who want to fuck women. Nobody wants to fuck the acroon. That's not a thing. That does not exist. That fetish.
Right, because everybody has like this. I mean, like the video I did, the how the sausage is made. Like everybody has this preconceived notion of it's like a fantasized, fetishized version, right? They really think it's like anime or something else where, some magic bullshit happens and suddenly I'm a pretty girl. But like when you see the results of the surgery, no, 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 that's not at all what it looks like. Well, especially for the female to male ones, man, they get butchered to shit.
Oh well, I mean it's terrible for everybody because like it works both ways with the male to females. The act of neutering actually reduces their sex drive, and since the sex drive is the cause of the autogenophilia, a lot of them immediately regret it because now they don't have the sexual urge to cross dress and to play as woman. But the female to males, they have. I went on about this in my last stream, but they have like this romanticized concept of what a homosexual relationship is, and it's men who get shit on their dick is the reality. Being a man is gross, and you know. They when they are accepted as men and treated like other men, they're repulsed by it because men like the mental headcanon of what a gay relationship is like and what actually hanging out with men is like and dating other men is like is not what they had in mind. So it's a nightmare. We're going to be dealing with the repercussions of what we've done to thousands of kids for decades. We have really fucked up. And I guarantee you, there's like like you know how the 70s and 60s had like those headlines of continuous serial killers who were like the streetwalker. Oh, yeah. That shit's coming back in force. We're gonna have so many fucking serial killers who are like castrated and can only get off by murdering women. That's all coming back.
Well, it's going to be even worse because they're not going to have an outlet for the rage. Usually, like there's some kind of weird sexual psycho violence thing. Like those are all components, but it's going to be pure vengeance, right? I mean, it's going to be people that are butchered, and they're going to feel like society and their parents and doctors and everybody was just okay with it, and they have no way of reversing it.
Yeah, and don't forget if you've ever read The Industrial Society and Its Future by Dr. Theodore Kaczynski. He actually had a gender identity crisis and ended up in a gender like clinic way back when, even decades ago. And he saw all the other people around him who were in the various stages of transitioning, and he thought, this is fucking disgusting. And that was one of the key factors that played in him becoming the Unabomber. And it's because they have friends in tech, man. That's the issue. They can get my Google Voice number dropped. I can't make calls to or from my Google Voice number. I can't receive text messages on my and it's like I talked to their support agent and they're going through the checklist like, you know, can you tell us what area you're in, what software you're using. So it's like there's not like an obvious flag on my account that says I'm banned. I guarantee you some fucking troon, you know, software contractor just did something to break my account as best he could and then walk away from it. And it's like it's not even like I'm banned. It's like someone broke my Google Voice number, so I can't use it.
Right. Well, didn't that what is the Fong one that's working with Keffels?
Liz Fong Jones.
That?
They worked at he worked.
They worked at Google. Yeah, right. So they probably still have friends there, don't they?
Yeah. He I don't remember what he did exactly. He's really
place a living hell, probably.
he was very active in like the Google internal forum for like LGBT issues, he said. So I'm sure he was that guy. He's really funny because he's hideous, number one. He's like usually Asians have like a racial perk to passing when they transition, but not him.
Not him.
No, he's got a strong jaw. I call it the Robert Zadar jaw. He's got a fucking meaty face, and his trans boyfriend speaking of snake things, is like trans snake, and he walks around in public with his hands down behind his back and like a like
So you're telling me you're walking, I'm just trying to picture myself as like a Google employee when they were still employed there. And I'm walking across campus to go fix some fucking issue in a server or something. And here comes Asian Jay Leno with some guy
yes.
slithering behind them on the ground, sticking his tongue in the air.
Not on the ground. He walks around in like a sleeveless champagne dress with like and they all wear fucking fetish collars like animals, and like walks around on a leash in public, and they're just like, I don't know, I'm a snake. I'm a snake. I'm a snake girl. I'm a snake. And that's just how they live. And it's fucking weird. And these are the people who decide if I get to make phone calls.
That's the person with the final say on whether or not you can dial a number.
Yeah.
Oh, do you think they feed him live rats? Is he that dedicated to the snake role play? Is he eating mice and shit?
Oh, I hope not. Maybe he just eats all the dongs when they get cut off, and they just feed it to him.
He gobbles it up. Yeah.
Literally.
I didn't know this was a Jewish snake. Okay.
Oh no. No. This is they only take the tip. We're talking about the whole dongus in a bag here.
Well, he's thorough, right? He's very thorough. He doesn't want to leave anything behind.
It's for a total circumcision. The Onion Tor will probably be resilient. However, the government basically, in the same way that I have contingencies for everything, the government also has things that they know how to take down that they don't do very often because they don't want them fixed. My personal conspiracy theory is DDoS attacks are such a universal problem that if they wanted to fix them, they probably could. I bet you that there is a way right now that could be set up in a week where if you are under a DDoS attack, you could communicate to the internet backbones, of which there's like only like 7 internet like tier 1 providers in the world, and say, I'm being attacked. This is my source, and this is the destination of the attack. And I bet you that it would be possible to coordinate with companies for free, not resource intensive at all, to end DDoS as a threat. However, I think that the DDoS attack is so simple and so useful to the government that they intentionally do not provide the service, and they have been asked by the government not to provide the service. And I think that's true with other things as well, that they know how to fix, and they choose not to. DDoS attacks have been around for 30 fucking years. They've always been there, and they for sure know how to fix it by now.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. I'm sure there's a lot of shit they could patch up and take care of that they never do. I mean, you're talking about, at least with the U.S. government, that knows about like just 0-day exploits that they'll let sit there because it might be beneficial a year from then. I mean, with all the NSA shit and
well, here's a fun story about that. There was a pedophile who was arrested, who was identified as exchanging child pornography on Tor. The lawyer for the pedophile asked, I want to know how you identified him. We need proof. Before we take any plea deal or take this to court, I need to know what you did to identify my client as the person who transmitted this information over Tor, an encrypted network. And they said, we are not going to disclose that, so the charges are dropped. And he walked away. So whatever the fuck they had that was working, it was so important to them that they would have let literally anything walk so that they can continue to do espionage. I think that was patched eventually. They figured out what that was, but our government is evil. Our government is pure evil, run by very like most people listening to this will probably be familiar with the Christian fucking his mom thing. One of the people that he was talking to at the time was Isabella Yonka. Isabella Yonka is the daughter of an ex-CIA contractor named Michael Yonka. If you Google Michael Yonka Cloudflare, you'll find a video of the father of the woman that was talking to Chris while he was raping his mother, sitting next to Matthew Prince talking about how the internet needs more censorship. And considering that Isabella Yonka had a 3,000 page long thread on the Kiwi Farms, it really does raise some fucking eyebrows about what influence comes from where. I don't think that Michael Yonka is a part of Keffel thing at all. I think that in the time that it took for the Kiwi Farms to lose Cloudflare, there was that statement by Matthew Prince about their policies and how they handle abuse and yada yada, and their commitment to free speech, and that was on Thursday. And then that Saturday, 2 days later, on a 3-day weekend, it was Labor Day weekend, he drops the Kiwi Farms and puts out this much more rushed, shitty statement that seems like panicked. and saying like this site is the worst site that we've ever seen. We're dropping it right now. It's an imminent threat to human life. We've contacted law enforcement already because it's such a big deal. And I've not received any communique from any law enforcement anywhere regarding any imminent threat to human life. So he lied, and he lied in a way that I can't sue him for, but he lied to appease his shareholders, probably because something happened. Either his payment processors threatened him, his board of directors threatened him with having him being forced to resign from CEO position, or someone like Michael Yonka got to him in his ear and said, "You need to find a way to drop this site." And what is extremely pissy about that is that he said it was the worst site he's ever seen. It was an easier decision to make than the Daily Stormer or 8chan. And right now on his site are websites dedicated to drilling holes into the skulls of monkeys that proudly hosted by Cloudflare. ISIS websites proudly hosted by Cloudflare. DDoS protection, the works for $200 a month. And it's a joke. It's a bad joke, but it's going to go right over people's head.
So I know that you tried going the Russian route and that didn't work, and then the Chinese route and that didn't work. Is there like a rogue nation out there that just doesn't give a shit about trannies, like some African country that's like, fuck it?
Russia has blocked KiwiFarms.net in Russia. Roskomnadzor has the censorship authority, internet authority in Russia, said that this and this is not a joke. This picture of Adolf Hitler dressed as Santa saying "Ho ho Holocaust" is offensive to the Christian values of Russia.
Sorry. So the Russians didn't like that one?
No, they actually blocked the Kiwi Farms over the Ho Ho Holocaust. Africa, I mean, Africa's where all the innovation's going to come from. Mark my words, because they still use shortwave. They still have shortwave in Africa. It's still big there.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, I bet they're innovating like crazy down there.
Well, I mean, you're talking about moving to Africa. Daily Stormer is on .rw, which is Rwanda, and Rwanda has had a bit of an economic miracle because it's called billions of dollars of foreign aid has really revitalized Rwanda into a paradise under a dictatorship, and you can get away with a lot of shit in Rwanda. So
now, have you tried reaching out to the Rwandan dictator and be like, "Hey,
white people are fucking crazy. Look at these people; they're cutting off their dicks, nigga. They gay and they cutting off their dicks." And
you need to send him like a test picture in the email of Hitler saying "Ho ho Holocaust" just to see if he's cool with it.
They don't know who Hitler is.
So you're already in good.
Look, Namibia. Okay, this was a famous story, but Namibia, which was a former colony of Germany, like way back when, the 1800s, elected someone to a position called and he was literally named Adolf Hitler. He was like a black dude. And they asked him, like, why did your parents name you that? And he's like, they like the name. Don't they know about Hitler? Who? I'm the only Hitler that I know besides my family.
I just really like they love the name. They thought it just rolled off the tongue.
It's very catchy. It's very memorable. So no, the Africans are blessed in a lot of ways. They really are poised to take over.
Well, I mean that sounds like the next innovative. I'm looking forward to what would the URL be? If you went to Rwanda, it'd be what, RW?
RW. But no, Rwanda would be a good choice because it has some infrastructure. Seychelles also has some infrastructure. But I mean, a lot of Africa is just very undeveloped. Nigeria is people. A lot of people don't know this, but Nigeria has something like 600 million people living in it. And,
is it really?
Oh, it's a big country. It's it's an up and comer in terms of like population and resources. And it's a big shithole, but they have internet there. So NG I think is Nigeria, and NI is Niger.
Are they going to give the Indians a run for their money with tech support scams? You think?
I mean, they probably already do. They speak English there. I think is part of the reason why they're so developed is because they were a English colony instead of a French one. Don't quote me on that. I don't know for sure. I do know that China is trying to set up shop in Africa, though.
Oh, they've been doing that forever. Yeah, that's that new neocolonialism. They know where the resources and consumers are. Yeah, they're going to sweep down there and make a pretty penny.
They want to make Africa their China. They want to start exporting shitty jobs to Africans.
Put the suicide nets outside of their phone factories. Yep.
Exactly. They want to be the old U.S. and they want to make Africa like their factory workers and stuff. There was one thing from everything that Keffel said that actually made me laugh out loud because it was so funny. And it was they're fighting with each other now because the thread's locked, so they can't, and the site's down, so it's like they can't argue against the site anymore. Keffels got called out for calling people retarded, and Keffels came back, I swear to God, by saying, "I'm mentally disabled and I'm reclaiming the word." Literally came out and said, "I'm retarded, so I get to say retard." And that was the funniest fucking thing I've ever seen. It's like, yeah, that sums it up. You're a retard.
Well, yeah, no, they're absolutely starting to eat each other. I think I saw the retard thing. Didn't they make like some previous statement about fucking a retarded girl, and that's what started it all?
Oh, geez, probably. Dude, all
Yeah,
his
Keffel said something like, "I like fucking retarded girls because they're dumb enough to do it." Some statement that somebody dug up and got really mad about that started the whole retard shit.
if you look up all his tweets from like just like in 2021, he is the most sexually violent person you could possibly imagine. Like the words he uses to describe sex are just like like feminists say this like, oh, sex is violence, all sex is violence. Like he is literally using sexual innuendo in a way that sounds like he's killing people. It's like saying, I'm better, I want to normalize fucking hot MILFs and I want to fuck your mom is something that he goes to all the time. And then, of course, he also is obsessed with my mom. So it's like, okay, that's pretty obvious what you're doing there, buddy. He also like said something really disgusting, like, real women are jealous of me because I have a vagina that you can smash your dick directly into my prostate and I'll have an orgasm. And it's like,
Yeah,
ew.
I saw that one. I saw that one. Yeah, yeah. Uh, which is just, I never got it. Like the thing with the tranny shit that always amazed me was that it's lifelong dilation. It doesn't stop. If you don't keep the hole open, it closes. Like you're committing to like 2 hours of ripping a hole open over and over and over and over again. Like that's gotta drive you crazy. I'd go fucking insane.
Supposedly, it becomes less painful and less frequent over time to the point where they do it like once a month after a couple years. But yeah,
Yeah, but see, every tranny I've seen talk about it always complains that if they don't maintain this, rigorous dilation schedule, they lose depth.
mhm.
They lose structure. It tightens up too much to use. So like I don't know, but like even if it was just 2 years, right? Um, I don't know if I could do it, man. If I had an open wound that I had to keep digging into every day for hours a day, I'd somersault off the roof.
Yeah, seems to be the popular opinion. It's like an earring piercing. A woman who get earrings, if they don't wear earrings every so often, it closes up, it scabs over, and then eventually becomes too narrow to put an earring into, and they have to get it re-pierced.
Oh, do you know what would be the most horrifying thing if
Mm.
you're a tranny right now? You just got your transition surgery and you go to test out your new bits and parts, right? And then you get monkeypox.
I'm sure that's
Could you imagine dilating with monkeypox?
I'm sure that's happened. It has to have happened somewhere.
It must be so bad.